So last year, throughout the year, we worked with our lead teachers and we were kind of talking about what would be best for instruction and for students and parent communication.
In the past, a grading was rating the students A through E. At the end of the day, it just let the students know how they felt within the classroom. This new one is more progress-based, and that allows the students to see their progress throughout the unit as opposed to labeling themselves with a grade.
So it was a big transition for a lot of people, including myself. You know, we're also used to letter grades, A, B, C, D, F. So it was a little bit intimidating at first, but after getting training in it, it really calmed us and helped us, you know, realize that this is something that's going to be really great.
My first report card, I was like, what is this? Like, what did they do? But I feel like after a while I got used to it and it just made my life a little easier than A, B, C, and D.
Developing is you're under the standards for your grade. Meaning is that you're exactly where you want to be. And exceeding is taking it to one more grade level.
I don't know exactly how you say this, but the A, B, C, and D was more just general, and developing, meeting, exceeding is more specific.
Well, it's a mind shift for all of us, and I think the most adaptable, of course, were the students. They adapted very well to it because they didn't compare each other anymore. They started looking within themselves. The second level of impact was on the teachers, and that was the mind shift we had, and that was how do we now strengthen our instruction because we're having to focus on each standard now. And so that helped us focus much more in our professional learning committees in how we lift the level of progression for each student as opposed to this is what a unit looks like and this is our plan and this is our grade that we get.
For me, standards-based reporting is giving students and parents feedback on specific standards that are being taught within that quarter. So for me, I specialize in mathematics. If I'm looking at a student's overall math score, it doesn't tell me as much as if I'm just looking at a specific standard.
If you're teaching computer science, really, what is an A in computer science? I mean, to me, it makes more sense for the kids to see those discrete skills that they learn during that grading period. That's really the big benefit, is that it sort of makes everybody aware of what those skills are that they're working towards.
And then the great part is because of the workshop models that we have, say in the math classroom, the students are able to set goals and immediately know which activities to pick. This allows them to set very specific goals for those units. And that allows me as a teacher to also know and understand where each of the students falls within those standards to specifically target each student at a very individual rate.
So when I make my small groups, one of the first things I do is I look at student data and form my groups based on how each of the students are doing under each standard, so that they're getting what they need specifically, and I'm not just doing it based off of high, medium, low. I can make each of my groups more specific based on what they need.
Comparing my year last year and my year now, I feel like my students are truly taking ownership. So on the quarter one report card, what we do as teachers is we picked out 6 specific standards that we know we're going to cover that unit. So they see those rubrics and they're like, okay, this is where I'm at. Okay, what do I need to do now? What do I need to do to make myself even better? And I think that's truly made them more engaged in their learning.
The hardest level, of course, is getting parents to now have that same mind shift. It's no longer a grading system. We are not labeling and grading a student. We are lifting their levels of engagement. So no one fails. No one gets a certain letter grade. Everyone is setting goals and everyone is showing growth.
It's very good because you kind of understand better what your grades are rather than A, B, and C, and I think that you're kind of saying a little bit more.
I feel that this is an easier report card because it explains more than A, B, C, D, and I think my parents are happier with this new report card.
I like this one much better, actually. At first I didn't really like it, but now I think I like it a lot better.
It makes you feel better because instead of getting a D, which you know what that means, because when you read books, if a character gets a D, that's a bad grade. But developing, even though they both start with the same letter, you feel better about yourself.
I think change always takes an adjustment for everybody, but I think the impact on instruction has been very positive, and the fact that it's really allowed students to know very clearly what they're learning and what they're working towards, but also for teachers to provide very targeted instruction and to know where their students are, what their strengths are, what their needs, and ultimately for us to be able to say very specifically to parents, you know, here's what they're working on and here's how they're doing in that progression of learning.
My first report card, I was like, what is this?